I was on a conference call the other week and somebody inadvertently drove into Canada while they were on the call.
Ooh, they chase him?
Yes, they didn't realize they did it. And so all of a sudden they're like, I'm getting pulled over. There's about 3 police coming at me, 1 from one direction and 2 from behind. I need to hang up. And then and we found out that that's what happened. It was like some like remote park entrance, like, I don't know, in Idaho or Dakota, some state like out there. It was really bizarre.
Yeah, you don't want to cross the border without stopping. And right now, they don't let you cross the border.
It was one of those automated border crossings.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Where it's like for like commuters and you're supposed to like flash a badge and they've got cameras all over.
Yep.
Are we good, Sue? Can I start? Okay.
We're good. It's so weird though. I got a recording on YouTube and so I can hear it recording and hear you guys talking. I'm trying to figure out how to turn that part down, but.
Well, I can at least read the thing I have to read, right? All right, so it's 8:03. 8:03. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order, suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southborough Board of Commissioners of Trust Funds will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information in the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and a requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the Town of Southborough's website, www.southboroughtown.com/. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to may participate or participate in the meeting may do so in the following manner by finding the meeting at www.southboroughtown.com/remote meetings. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted. Every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we're not able to do so, despite the best efforts, we will post on Southborough's website an audio or video recording transcript, other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And if we're okay with the October 15th minutes, if someone wants to make a motion, we can approve those.
So moved.
Bill,
Okay.
motion. Everyone okay with that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Unanimous? No discussion, obviously. I think the next agenda item, Nick, is you. And if you want to take it away with the Metro West, the update on that and then the deferral program. I don't know if you just want to take the two at once and run with them.
Yeah, sure. So we had the call or Zoom with the tax group. And Brian, am I right in hearing that they've only been around for like 2 years, that tax aid group?
Yes, the fund has been around for, I don't know how many years, a long time, but the group itself was never really formed. So you're right. It's been only like two years. So.
And the group itself, they have screening criteria on income before that they can give. I think it was less than what, 50,000 a household or something. I can't remember the exact amount.
I thought it was 30 and yeah, something like that. I can't recall now either.
Okay. Did anyone else get that notice that Liz is on there?
Yeah, she's on here too.
Okay.
We have Liz and Sam.
Are we bringing them in?
No, they can raise their hand.
Okay, gotcha.
I told them they can raise their hand and they can be brought in if they have questions or whatever.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so this is essentially a new group and effectively new for us, right? Because they haven't been around, and they're seeking to give aid to people who have an income qualification. So much like youth and family, it sounded pretty curated to me. I guess what I'm still not 100% clear on is what is the policy on the tax deferral? You know what I mean, by seniors outside of that. So in other words, if a senior just stops paying their taxes, kind of what happens? You know what I mean?
Well, if they stop paying their taxes and there's no agreement with the town, that's problematic because then, obviously we go through there's a separate process. We go through liening their property and obviously I'd have outreach with them, but it could lead to legal action. And that can take the form of various avenues. It can be either like a lawsuit or a foreclosure action. So, but if they have an agreement in the deferral program, I'm notified of that by the assessor annually. And I put them in a special group. Basically, I just take their taxes and move them over to a special group. And they just sit there and accumulate at a 4% interest rate. And as long as the deferral's in place, we don't do anything. We just let it roll until the assessor or until we get notified there's been a change in the property. Or of course, I hate to say it, if the person's passed away or something like that.
Right.
Mm.
So the deferral program is people ages what and over?
65.
It was 65, yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay. And there's no income qualification on that, right?
right.
Okay. So if somebody's like 60, they're not into the deferral program, and that's where the tax aid can really fill in.
Right.
So if I kind of look at this, if you look at kind of the whole safety basket and how it can be maximized, if somebody's 65 or over, there's already this deferral program. And if we had, a catastrophe in society, anybody over that age is going to be, I wouldn't say taken care of, but they're at least the liquidity crunch is taken care of for that piece, right?
Well, can I interrupt? The taxation aid fund is what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, well, we're talking about the problem of people being unable to pay their taxes at a higher level and how that all fits in and how we can fit in.
Okay, but it seemed that there's an age of 65 on the taxation aid program as well. If I look at the application.
Yeah, it was 60. I'm sorry, it was 65 though.
Okay, it is 65.
And it was 30/60, the income. 30/60. I knew I had 30, but yeah, 30/60.
Okay, so anybody who is eligible for deferral is also in the bucket for taxation aid.
Right.
And I guess the benefit is if you're within the lower income, then you can get the aid and you defer less.
Correct.
So if you're in the lower income, you're more likely to have something like a reverse mortgage, which might make it actually harder to defer because you could get underwater. It could impact your reverse mortgage, I would think, at some point, right? You probably have a covenant in there at some point that you can't be so underwater because the municipality is going to get their money. The reverse mortgage lender, right, has to have a covenant somehow so that they're not going to get, impacted by that deferral. And I'm just trying to kind of put the whole picture in my head of where the need is, right? So if you're a high income senior and you own your house outright, you can go into deferral. You know what I mean? If you've got a liquidity crunch and whatever else, and you're okay. If you're low income senior, then you can have taxation aid. You're also the group that's more likely to have mortgage, reverse mortgage, whatever it might be, which would partially inhibit that deferral program, right? You don't want to be in default on your mortgage and have them call it or whatever it is, you might evict you or whatever, or foreclose or whatever might happen if you didn't pay your taxes for 2 or 3 years. Plus, they might just, as part of that mortgage, they might make you pay your taxes. So you couldn't even do the aid, right? So the aid committee would actually be helping those people because one component of that mortgage is the taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels like if you think about it, it feels like there is a gap in the deferral program for anybody that has a mortgage on the house, right? Whether they're high income or low income. Is that fair to say?
Yep.
Because I don't know, I mean, like, I don't know about your mortgages, but like at my mortgage, I'm forced to pay my taxes through the mortgage. It's pretty hard to get a mortgage where you're not, unless it's just like a line of credit.
Yeah, right.
Then it's covered by covenant.
Right.
Yeah, I think it depends on a bunch of stuff. I did not have to escrow taxes on my mortgage.
Yeah, me neither.
And
wow.
it may have been the lender. It may have been that I had more than 20% to put down, whatever else. But I just wanted to pay them myself.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. And it may be it may also be that that you have a covenant in your mortgage that you have to pay them, or else you can be declared in default.
Absolutely.
Oh, there has to be. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So kind of one way or the other, if you have a mortgage, you have to pay your taxes.
Right, right.
So the only people that the deferral program perfectly helps are those that are 65 and over and own their house outright.
Yes, you're right. If you think about that. Yep.
Right? So if you have
Well-
a pie of people that need help on taxes, that solves a piece of the pie, but not the whole thing.
I don't know, if you're in a town tax deferred program, that wouldn't be acceptable to your mortgage company, that the town gives them a notice that says, you know, their taxes are deferred, whatever. There's a lien on the property when it's sold or whatever else. Which I would think at that point that the town is the first lien holder. Usually, you know, a municipality or government takes precedence on a lien over a mortgage, whatever. So as long as they feel you're good on, hey, you know, if the property is sold, there's more than enough equity to pay off the taxes and pay the rest of us. I would think that would work, but you guys are the finance people.
Yeah, I don't have the experience with the banks directly, that because the assessors have to get the sign off, but I don't know. Like, I don't know how many they've had that have balked at that, you know, because the bank obviously has to sign off on it. And I'm not sure if they've had experiences that they haven't, you know, they may have. I don't know.
Either of you know a lending company, or Brian through one of our banks, could you ask that question of someone that, you know, someone that holds the mortgages and doesn't just farm them right out once they approve you?
Yeah, I could also see if Paul knows. He may know. He may know
Yeah,
by
it's
dealing
possible.
with it. So
Yeah,
I can check.
because he deals with it.
Yeah,
But yeah, in my experience with all lenders is if you're a first priority secured lien holder, you will never give that spot up as a lender. Ever.
No, usually
So
not.
the
I mean,
idea that you're going to give up any of that first priority lien holder to a municipality ahead of you is going to be a problem. They're not going to like that.
but they kind of do anyway, because if you don't pay taxes and the town lets you go out 2 years, they're gonna lien your property and they're gonna be in front of the mortgage company.
That's right. But if your mortgage has a covenant in it that says you can't do that, now they can go and foreclose on you and sell your house so they get their money back before the tax lien gets out of hand. That's their protection.
All right. And to be clear, in addition to this, we also have the tax work-off program. Is that
Yes.
correct? Okay.
yes.
Which is suspended with COVID.
Yeah.
Liz is
Yes.
has her hand up. I'm gonna allow her to talk.
Yeah, I'll bring
sure.
her in.
Sorry about that, Liz. Go ahead. You're on mute.
Oh, thanks. Oh, that's okay. I was just saying Brian sent the taxation aid committee the in qualifications for senior tax deferral summary the other day after our meeting, and it says there's no asset limits, but there is actually an income limit. It's 40,000.
Yeah, I
Right.
saw that.
So anyway, FYI, but I was just going to mention to Nick, a couple of the applications that we received last year, taxation aid is also disabled citizens of any age.
Right.
So it's not, I don't think, according to this language, I don't think disabled qualifies for this tax deferral. Because it's called senior tax deferral. It doesn't say anything about disability.
Oh, for deferral? No.
Yeah,
No, I don't, no,
Okay.
no. But you're right.
Which
There
is
is a disabled component too. Yes, to our fund.
So I think kind of thinking it all through, the thing that I was most concerned about was the duplicity, right? That there's a deferral program and tax aid is basically helping people that the deferral program can help, but nobody else. But I think the point that the first lien holder, right, is not going to just let you take taxes indefinitely and put them in front of them one way or the other. I know that's not going to happen. I'm pretty comfortable with that. You know, number two, we've got this disability thing, right, which is important because that's outside the gap. And there's an income qualifier. I think with all that I think I can be comfortable at least that there is not taxation aid money going to people that could otherwise easily defer. Or if there is, the overlap is minimal.
Okay. So,
Because I think if somebody can defer, and they can defer without harm, so they can defer without being foreclosed on, they can defer without, you know, I don't know, triggering a covenant and some other loan they have and having their car repossessed or some stupid thing like that, right? Then the deferral program works really well. And if we have a situation where a lot of people need a lot of money, the people that can go in the deferral program need to go there first, right? Otherwise, we're not going to be maximizing the aid that can possibly be given with all sources.
I'd agree. The one to talk to on this is Sibeli, because I know of in past years, there were stories about people filled out the application, came in, thought it was a great idea, only to have a child of them come in and say, I want that application back. There's not going to be a lien on the property that I'm going to inherit. And had some legal authority to do it, or just convince the parent, no, we're not going to do that. We'll help you out or whatever else. So
which is great, because there's another source of help right there, right, within the family. But there are some seniors that don't have that source too, and for them the deferral program works very well. And if they can't get into the deferral program, if they make 70,000 or whatever, still have tons of money, they still need the help, right? You don't want to out them from their house, which they've lived in for 40 years, right? That's why we're all here.
Yeah.
You know, then there's a very good role for us there. See, that's my thought.
so that person that you just described would be a trust fund
Right.
source.
Or there's somebody who has a mortgage on their house, who really can't go into the deferral program without breaking a covenant on the mortgage, who is low income that qualifies for taxation aid, or is disabled and below 65 and can't get into deferral that qualifies. See what I mean? So it's another layer on something that, you know, when I first thought about it, I thought the deferral program was like good for everybody, but the more you think about it, it's really not. It's only good for whatever, half the pie.
Yeah.
And taxation aid is probably 37% of the pie, and there's probably 12%, which is people that, you know, could only come through us or some other source, right? They have income too high, you know, for whatever reason they can't get the lien. You know what I mean? That like they would be kind of falling through the cracks of those two. But even with that, the taxation aid obviously needs help, because they've got enough demand on what they're doing, which is outside the deferral program right now, right? That there's a gap.
Well, yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but of course, on the taxation aid side, I do think we have to have further conversations on are any of the pool that we have currently, because there might be a couple in there that could be deferral, you know, could be good for the deferral program. I'm actually not sure of thinking over the list, but there could be. So, but I agree with your concept. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think if we helped, we would want to make sure that we're not helping somebody that can go to the deferral program, right? Because
Right.
first of all, that helps maximize taxation aid's impact too, right? We want the biggest impact, and we've got three tools here. We have deferral, taxation aid, and us right now, right? So if we're going to be incremental, we need to be incremental. We don't want to be, you know, doing something that can easily be done with another source.
So are you suggesting, because the origin of this discussion, I think, started as giving assistance to taxation aid, like in some manner. So are you suggesting the way we do it is do it through not a direct grant? I don't know what you'd call it. We're not going to issue a check from the trust fund to taxation aid. You'd rather handle it by taxation aid referring people to us directly?
I don't know. I'm not suggesting anything mechanically yet. I was just thinking through. First of all, I was just the filter of is there like a need that's not being met somewhere else that's going to qualify for us? And based on everything that we've said so far, I think the answer is yes. So that's mechanically what's the best way to deal with that. And that I haven't thought through totally yet. I mean, we always like to pay directly if we can.
And we don't have to decide that today. Might be something we want to think about.
So how about the CARES Act and this rental mortgage assistance that was being considered the other night by the selectmen? That is completely unrelated to anything we've talked about so far, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah. Is, because that's for your mortgage, right?
It's-
That's for rent or mortgage
Rent or mortgage, yeah.
assistance that hasn't been paid.
It's,
And
yeah,
Not taxes.
it could, well, it's a short-term thing because it ends at the end of December. So it's really only a 1 or 2 month thing, but I mean, it might help some of these people, but it's probably not, long-term, it's not a discussion that's going to really impact us, I guess.
well, but I think there are some situations right now, if it was approved, there are some situations right now that people can certainly take advantage of it.
Oh, yeah.
And should, if it's not, if it's money that came from the government, not us,
Right.
and people can't make their mortgage payment or their rent payment, then they should absolutely go after that program first, I would think.
So
Oh, I
Sam
agree.
has his hand up. I'm gonna,
Yeah, well, he would know because he was at the meeting, probably.
yeah. There you go, Sam.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, hi, Sam.
Good point, Bill. The CARES Act thing, I think, is going to happen on Friday. We're meeting to, I think, approve that. We have $25,000 near term, and there's actually a much bigger pot. I'm not sure why we didn't look for more, but not clear to also how long that's going to go. It does currently have a limit on it, but there's a possibility that it could be extended. Always hard to predict that kind of stuff, but it I think is a good deal in that it covers both rent and or mortgage payments. There's an income limitation on it as well. I can't remember the numbers, household income limits, but it seems to me that's a useful part of this entire process because it's essentially money that doesn't cost the town directly any money. We can pass that through. So I would think that would be early in the decision process. If somebody can qualify for that, that would be a first choice for support. So you run through that and then you go to the other sources as well. So not to complicate the picture, which is already a little bit complicated, but I think that's a useful asset here that we ought to work to take full advantage of. And again, I think we'll figure out the final paperwork stuff on Friday, tomorrow.
I mean, the income information that I'm looking at is a family of one is $67,000,
Mhm.
up to 96,000 for a family of four. So it's 80% of the area median income.
Median income, right, which is a fairly high threshold. I mean, that should help a fair number of people. It's not like you have to pay, $20,000 or less kind of thing. So again, the intent there was to get money to people quickly who are in crisis, and I would think that would be an early stop on the decision process here to see if somebody qualifies for that. And I think there's motivation to get people through that quickly if we can, and that is being basically managed by Youth and Family Services. So the referral goes to them to figure out eligibility, and I think they're again motivated to make people eligible if they can. So again, just throw that in as a possibility, and we ought to take full advantage of it, and we'll continue to push on.
Is that forgivable, like a PPP loan, or is that?
Yeah. No, it's a grant.
Oh,
Right,
interesting.
pay it back.
That's great.
So
Yeah, that's first priority.
yeah. Anyway, just want to add that to the mix here. Bill beat
Thanks,
me
Sam.
to it. Thanks.
Thank
No,
you.
thank you.
So
So-
Bill, that might, well, just everyone real quick, that might be a consideration we want to just, for the next agenda item, that may be a consideration for that.
Yeah, I saw that. I read up on that, and I saw that I think that's definitely something for what'll be coming up later that we
Yep.
can discuss.
Yep.
So in a perfect world, if we could have between us and taxation aid and whoever else, a mechanism where people come in, they need help. They first look at the CARES Act thing. If they can get that,
Yeah.
they get that. And then, they're good, right? And obviously if there's a gap for more than that, for whatever reason, that's a different issue, but they get what they get there. I don't know how much they get. And then of course, secondly, if they can go into deferral, right? Because deferral is an unlimited source, then they can go there. And then if they can't go there, then the third would be taxation aid. And at that point, their burden is reduced down, right? And then obviously, I think their qualifying criteria are very good for us. And so once those two, kind of sources are tapped, then it makes it even more attractive for qualifying for us. I don't know how mechanically that gets screened out and administrated, but I think in a perfect world, that's how it would go, right?
Somewhat of a hierarchy, yeah.
Right now, and I think there'll be more money for this, and I think when it's approved, people will probably go, if there's $25,000 in there to start, it'll probably be gone quick, and I'm sure there'll be another round, but if it's not gone, then the potential is we don't get any more money because, well, you didn't use it. So I would certainly encourage people as soon as it's approved to put in applications for that. Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to, that's a lot of information. So do you want to kind of just mull on this a little bit?
I guess one question for taxation aid, and I don't know if we can ask them questions and them answer if that's kosher or not here, but is, do they have the capability to be the administrator of that hierarchy? You know what I mean? In other words, before they actually get to a point where they pay, can they screen both on income, on did they get CARES Act, and are they able to, do deferral?
I think they should, because I think part of any application has to be, and any application follow-up has to be, have you participated in any other existing program, such as, trust fund money or this grant or anything else?
And why not, right? So are you not qualified for deferral because you have a mortgage and the mortgage has a covenant and you'd end up getting foreclosed on, right?
Right.
Because you'd blow the covenant. Or are you not for CARES because, I don't know, you didn't qualify for that for whatever reason it might be. You know what I'm saying? But if
Yep.
they can do that, then that makes it real easy for us, right? Because at that point, they've really curated what's going to them, and everything they've done is made it curated for us.
Right, and there needs to be coordination through the Taxation Aid Committee, Youth and Family Services, us, et cetera. Anyone who's has a pot of money to try and help people with, to make sure there's, people aren't getting more money than they owe.
Well,
Like,
I mean, look, if people get more money than they owe through CARES, then, then they should have a happy day, right? So that's not our concern. Yeah, we can toast them.
Yeah.
All
right, what action items might we have on this?
So I think if we can find out from Taxation Aid, if that kind of their management of that hierarchy is possible, then basically that, because our precedent has to try to avoid as much as possible putting ourselves in a position where we're making decisions on people's need when other people who know how to do it better,
Yeah.
right? Like Youth and Family is much more experienced at need, how much need there is, what's a really bad case, what's a case where there's another alternative. They're good at that. We're not, right?
Yeah.
We're good at
Yeah.
managing money and dispersing it when we have needs. So in this case, Taxation Aid would be the ones with that kind of expertise, and they can get people pushed to CARES and pushed to deferral. And then they're going to have some basis of people that don't do that. That's going to be the curated need. We don't have to determine any need. We can just contribute to help them if that's in place.
It sounds like that decision is going to be made tomorrow, and I think for some reason it's also on the agenda for Affordable Housing Trust Fund.
Okay, that's good.
Which is tomorrow as well. So, Brian, can you get information, or Nick, if you feel more comfortable, talk to Paul Sibeli about, if people have mortgages, whatever, what he's run up against. I don't think this has been the most taken advantage program to defer the taxes. And I think a lot of it is because people talk to kids or whatever else, and they say, no, we don't want to lien on the house. But I know some people, I've pushed a lot of people toward looking into it.
But if the kids help, then that's actually a really good outcome of the program.
If they help, that's right.
I mean, if the kids sit there and they put their, grandparent in starvation or their parent in starvation, then that's, come on. Yeah, let's just assume that's not happening. But
yeah, some people are for quite a while, there was a stigma about putting the house in your kid's name or doing this or whatever because of one long-term couple that lived in town that put it in the kid's name. He and his family moved in. They were going to have life tenancy, whatever else. And next thing you know, they were pushing them out down to, pardon me for saying, Wrinkle Village. And basically threw them out of the house because it's our house now, whatever else, you're gone. And so for quite a while, all the seniors in town knew that, and they were, nope, not putting it in the kid's name, not going to save money, whatever else. It's my house, and what happened to so-and-so and so-and-so is not happening to me.
Well, it would be
that was a good 15 years ago or so.
It would be really interesting, and this could be a talk for Sibeli too, is if the deferral program, because there is very smart reasons why you want to put your house in your kid's name.
Oh, yeah.
Particularly as you start, if you're like diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it's a very good time to do it while you still have 5 years to tick off before you end up in a long-term care home. It would be really interesting to know if it's possible that the deferral program could include something where if somebody was still living in the house, the taxes could still be deferred. But the moment that they leave, if they, even if it's in the kid's name, right? If they're a blood relative, but the moment they leave that house, those taxes become due with some kind of, grace period window. So the kids can't abuse it, move into the house and sit there with a tax lien for 40 years until they pass it to their kids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're not talking a lot of money. And if the house has no mortgage on it or very little mortgage, the kids can go get a second, they're going to be working. They can go get some kind of a home equity loan to pay 40 or 50 or whatever grand of taxes are on it,
Yeah. All right, we should move on because Brian's limited in time.
Yeah.
So just to wrap this up, I will start an email string with Paul and Nick. Nick, I'll CC you.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And I'll CC your town account, right?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, and so I'll do that today or tomorrow, and then we can start a little bit of a dialogue.
Sure.
So we'll get some information on that. Okay, so that's I think covers that. So I think the next item, we have to go into executive session to just quickly talk about our applicant.
Yep.
Let me just,
We did minutes, right?
We did minutes, yep.
Okay.
You can do them again if it makes you more comfortable, Bill.
Nope.